There's another squad attacking.
Welcome to the Third Party, an Apex Legends podcast hosted by myself, Shay, and joined as always by my co-host, Henry. Henry, how's it going today?
It's going really well. You know, we're staying busy. A lot of news kind of came out, but I'm excited to dive into it.
It's been a busy week. It's going to be a busy next week. We're keeping it humble and busy at the Third Party podcast.
Our friends at Redesign have decided to do a collaboration with us, and they've set up a Indiegogo to see if any third partiers are interested in the product. And if you go support them at the third party tier of only $30, you'll receive a free third party hat, $45 value, plus free dry scoop product if you try it out.
Are you lying? That sounds too good to be true.
It really is. It's a pretty good deal. All you have to do is go support them on Indiegogo with the link below, and then send us a screenshot of your pledge receipt through Instagram, Discord, Twitter, email, and then we'll send you a free code for the hat and you'll be good to go.
Another thing, quick little announcement before we dive into the episode. We got some new YouTube content coming out, a courtesy of The Final Headache in our Discord and the streamer himself. He's been putting together some shorter versions of important podcast content on a weekly basis for us. I think it's going to be a really great addition to the YouTube. Another reason for you guys to subscribe if you don't have time to listen to the full episode for some reason. Let's talk now about Caustic Treatment, the new town takeover. Yeah, it's definitely awesome. The interior of it also looks fantastic. It's playing a little interesting. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's a difficult POI right now to dominate. But yeah, let's talk about the loot a little bit. We're going to have a lot more loot in that area than the previous high tier at water treatment. Have you felt that off the rip?
I haven't necessarily felt it incredibly strong, but with the other additions of loot there, I think that it's definitely a pretty decent drop. My other kind of subjective feelings about the actual POI is the lighting inside.
Yeah.
Really tough. Like you're very much inside. It's dark, not a lot of windows. It feels like caustic.
It definitely has that caustic vibe for sure. Let's talk about the new takeover, Ring Fury Escalation Takeover. So each round, one or more ring flares will appear on the map within the current ring. You got the flare will then expand. And we also have the new addition of the survival slot and heat shields. And so all players start with 2 heat shields in their survival slot. We'll talk about that more in a second. What are maybe your thoughts on the Escalation Takeover style? The fact that it's a new playlist and the mode of it actually increases in intensity over the course of the time it's activated. Very different from anything we have had in the past.
It's pretty interesting. And the fact that it is, a takeover, that this is the public playlist now for this entire event, I think it's pretty intense, I'm excited to see how crazy it gets. My initial thoughts on the actual takeover are that it's hard. Your map awareness has to be on point. You are constantly looking at the map.
Yep.
If that's not a normal thing for you, this next week is going to be a lot of map looking.
It's a different way to play than I think a lot of people are going to be used to. But let's talk about the introduction that comes with this takeover, and that's heat shields. Heat shields are kind of like a bubble, is like the closest comparison to it in the game we have. You cast a protective dome that rejects the ring, creating a safe space inside the zone. When you're in that space, healing items use is sped up by 50%. So you got 2.5 seconds to hit a battery instead of 5 seconds. The revive speed is increased by 25%. And so 4.5 seconds to get a revive off versus the 6 seconds it normally takes. And that bonus is actually only applied if the heat shield is activated by the ring, something we were kind of questioning for a little bit. And we're like, oh my gosh, this might be the most impactful gear item if that wasn't the case. But I'm glad that's in there, balances it well. Have you had any first impressions of the heat shield? I know we're so early on in it still.
I have a lot of thoughts. I think it's very interesting in terms of this is an item that we already know is going to be permanently into the game after this takeover. It encourages you to essentially take fights in the ring, which for the last year or two, they've been trying to avoid that,
Yeah.
by changing legend abilities, by shifting things so that
Ring
you're
damage
not doing
has
that.
been shifted a lot as well.
They really have. So it seems like a very strong reversal to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, you can actually do this, and we're going to create loot in order for you to do it really well, actually, which I think is odd. And then speaking about the healing items, they got rid of that on the gold armor, they got rid of that on the lifeline, and they got rid of that for Gibby now. So it's very, very interesting to see them at the same time as they put the final uh, Gibby down in terms of faster healing
Mm-hmm.
consuming. Um, they
Put
put it
this
right
in.
back in
Yeah.
and even stronger than before. So I think that it's very weird, but at the same time, it is quite cool and it's a different way to play. And then this takeover, I would say essential.
Oh
I
yeah.
use mine in the first or second ring every single game pretty much.
I was surprised how long they last in the first couple of rings. Like they got serious health and time. And in my experience using them so far, the fights have been very intense in the zone. In just the fact that like you are taking a lot different style of a fight than I think people are used to. Like it's hard to see people when you're fighting between
Yeah.
these barriers and zones. The color is very overwhelming. There's a lot more of an external factor of this like I'm paying attention to where the enemies are, but also if I slide too far to the left in a rotation, I'm going to be taking zone damage and that's going to change how a fight might end up. And so there's a lot of elements in these fights and they're kind of fun. I'm kind of interested to see like how impactful they are on like ranked and such. It's going to be really cool. I think summarizing to see how this gear item is used by the best of the best and kind of like ranked as well. Like that's kind of the first thing that I'm going to be really interested in to see if there's an actual function to this gear. Because last time we had the mobile respawn beacon introduced, there really wasn't much like function and utility that came out of it. Let's talk Pathfinder though. Everybody rejoice that has been asking for it forever. Low profile has been removed off of Pathfinder. Low profile is an interesting thing. To like put it into terms, you talk about it a lot and I talk about it a lot as it is the limb damage that is kind of the more impactful thing. 5% is not going to be something you feel as a user all the time. It's very minuscule. And so that limb damage might make a difference, but you also talk about how the weapons don't always correspond with that.
Yeah, so essentially low profile not only does 5% more damage to these legends, but also if you hit them in the arm or the leg, it actually does body damage.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some weapons that just have a straight damage,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting. Uh, Sheila, for example,
Mm-hmm.
is an ultimate, not a great example, but I know that as a fact. There is no limb damage. It's all body all the time for all legends.
It's great. Weapon updates. Let's dive through these. In terms of optics, all gold AR and LMG default optics are going to be updated to 2x bruiser instead of that 1 to 2 or the 3 that sometimes they had.
We've been calling it for years.
Mhm.
Love the 2 times. Gotta love the bruiser. This is a nice thing. I definitely think that it was gonna help on the Spitfire for sure.
Wingman time. +1 bullets to every magazine, including the base. You like the Wingman love?
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Didn't really see that one coming.
No
but
note either.
yeah, it's pretty dang random. I'm not really sure why the Wingman needed the power, but essentially what it breaks down to is you got 1 extra shot, 1 extra chance to
Mhm.
hit. What this does to our accuracy metric is you used to have to hit 5 to the body out of 8 with a purple mag in order to knock someone with purple. 62% accuracy, one of the highest in the games. Now it's 5 out of 9 or 55%. That's not bad. 55 is kind of very much in there with the rest of the harder ARs and pretty much all of the SMGs. But that spread is it's now 7% easier with a purple mag in order to knock someone.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if that's really noticeable. 1 shot that does 45 damage, that counts. Like it definitely counts, but it's going to be interesting to see like is it going to feel oppressive? Probably not.
Yeah, we'll see. That wraps up the episode, though. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Pods. Give us a follow on Spotify. Leave a 5-star review with your question. We'll answer on our next episode. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Third Party Pod. Sub to our YouTube channel, Third Party Podcast, and stop by our weekly stream. Check out the Discord via the link in the description. Thank you so much for listening to the Third Party Podcast. Peace.
Hey now, another squad coming in. Boom, whole squad down.